Welcome to Module 7. Here we'll discuss interviewing, offer evaluation, and salary negotiation. Let's start with interview preparation. The purpose of an interview is to screen potential candidates to determine if you look as good in person as on your resume. Interviewing is a two-way communication between candidate and a recruiter. The interviewer is gathering information about you, but you also want to determine if this is a place you'd like to work at. The keys to successful interviewing are preparation and practice. First, it's essential to know yourself. Remember the module that discussed your personal brand. You need to know how to describe your strengths, weaknesses, interests, and skills. Remember to think about what sets you apart from the other candidates and how you're a good match for this particular position. You can find some lists of commonly asked questions on our office website and in the resources list for this module that will give you an idea of how to prepare. You'll also need to research the employer before the interview so you know all about them. Check out the company website, Google recent news, review the job description carefully, and see if the company has a LinkedIn and/or Facebook company page with more information. Glassdoor and Vault may have good information as well. Gather all the information that you can. Many times an interviewer's first question will be, "What do you know about us?" So you want to be prepared. The other key to success is to practice interview questions before the interview. You'll want to prepare answers to standard questions and have stories and examples for behavioral questions. We'll talk more about that later. And you want to practice out loud so you sound natural and confident. If you're confident about your qualifications, then the interviewer will be also. You can practice with family, and with friends or classmates you can take turns asking each other questions and providing feedback. You can also do a mock interview with me here in the Career Services office at any time. Just schedule an appointment through Handshake. Employers also do mock interviews before all our career fairs, which is a good way to get feedback from companies who actually hire RIT students. Remember, practice leads to confidence, and confidence is the key to interviewing success. Here are a few interviewing basics to keep in mind. Promote your skills and qualifications honestly. Don't say you know more about a technology than you do, for example. Arrive 5 to 10 minutes early for your interview to give you time to get settled and to demonstrate that you're prompt. Dress in professional business attire. A suit is preferred. Even if you know the company has a casual dress code, you want to show that you know how to be a professional. Be aware of nonverbal behaviors. Maintain good eye contact, don't fidget, and also verbal behaviors like and like. Everyone has these, but you don't want them to detract from what you're saying. For internet or video-based interviews, which some companies are starting to use, prepare like a face-to-face interview and dress professionally also. Be ready to ask good questions of the interviewer to further demonstrate your knowledge of the company and your interest in the job. You'll find some of these on our office website and in the resources for this module. Here are the materials you want to bring to your interviews. Bring extra copies of your resume, as you may be asked to provide it again. Bring an unofficial transcript to show your academic history. Again, you may be asked to provide it. This is the time companies may want to see your references, so bring a reference list. You may also want to bring some samples of your work or projects. If you have time, you can show them through our website, or flash drive, or even through photos. These further support your candidacy by showing how you use your skills successfully. Also bring a notepad and pen, preferably in a professional binder of some sort. This keeps everything organized and allows you to take notes if needed for future appointments or contacts, etc. I'd like to talk about a couple of specific types of interviews you may encounter. Behavioral interviews are based on the premise that the best way to predict future behavior is to see how someone behaved in the past in similar situations. So, A standard interview question may be, how would you handle this situation? A behavioral question would be, how have you handled this situation in the past? Here are some typical questions. Behavioral questions require you to have stories that you can apply to the specific question asked. So it's a good idea to prepare several stories that you can fit into any question. These are examples from projects, coursework, work experiences, volunteer experiences, or activities you're involved in that support the skill they're asking about. A good approach to responding to the question is to use the STAR technique. State the overall situation, explain the specific tasks involved in it, describe your actions and accomplishments, and then describe the results, which should be positive. If your response contains all these elements, then you know you have a comprehensive answer. Take time to practice some behavioral interviewing questions, which you can find on our website. Another type of question is the technical interview question. These questions or problems will be used to demonstrate your basic technical skills, which of course will vary depending on your major and the type of position. If you're asked a technical question, or even to solve a problem on a whiteboard, here are some tips. Ask questions to verify the problem before trying to solve it. Show all your work or talk through the problem. Interviewers are trying to see your problem-solving and analytical skills, so they want to see how you work through these steps. You can get an idea of what you may be asked by reviewing the job description to see what specific skills will be tested. Interviewers are looking for your raw talent and your smarts, as well as your critical and analytical thinking skills and your self-confidence. You don't have to have the right answer. It's more important to show your thought process and analytical skills. Here are some resources for technical interview preparation. Overall, here's what employers are looking for. The top 3 skills are actually non-technical and are communication, both verbal and written, teamwork, demonstrated through projects, labs, and jobs that you've had, and leadership, also shown through projects, jobs, volunteer experiences, and RIT clubs. A good GPA is important, but employers do look at the candidate's whole package of what they have to offer. Analytical skills and problem-solving abilities are very important for any work experience. Technical skills and knowledge relating to your area are important, as are your abilities to learn new technologies quickly. Passion and enthusiasm are very important. You need to show that you really want this job. It's essential, too, to demonstrate flexibility, that you're adaptable to new situations and changes that may occur, as this happens regularly in companies. A strong work ethic is important. Companies want employees that will want to work and do a good job. The employer is looking for a good fit between you and the company's needs. Will you fit in with the other employees and on a team? This is what you want to demonstrate through your responses. Usually interviews follow a basic routine. There's an introduction to get you both comfortable with each other. Then there's an information exchange. The interviewer will ask you questions, and then they give you a chance to ask questions. A typical co-op, internship, or screening interview lasts about a half an hour, so you only have about 14 minutes to sell yourself. That's why it's essential to practice ahead of time. When it's your turn to ask questions, be sure to prepare 2 to 3 in advance, based on your research of the company and the job. You can also ask questions to follow up on information they've provided during the interview. At the conclusion of the interview, be sure to ask about next steps so you'll know how and when to follow up. Restate your interest in the position and get the interviewer's business card or contact information. And if you've interviewed with more than one person, get all the information. After the interview, be sure to send a thank you note within 24 to 48 hours. This can be through email. Most candidates don't do this, so if you do it, it will put you ahead of the others. Thank them for the interview and again restate your interests and qualifications as they relate to the position. Take time to review the interview. What went well and what could you have done better? Maintain an interview log or add the information to your overall job search database or spreadsheet so that you can keep track of when to follow up and the status of your interviews. Let's talk about offer evaluation. When you get a job offer, whether for a co-op, internship, or full-time job, you want to promptly acknowledge the offer and then take one of the following actions. If you're not immediately ready to make a decision, which is okay, indicate that you'd like some time to consider the offer and agree on a decision deadline date. They may provide this in the initial offer letter. If you really want this job and are fine with the specifics of the job outlined in the offer, go ahead and accept. If you know immediately that you don't want the job, go ahead and reject or decline the offer in a professional way. This gives them time to move on to their next candidate. Before you accept a job, discuss the specifics of the offer with the employer thoroughly. You want to understand all the terms and the date that you have to respond by. Take time and carefully consider the offer before making a commitment, and it's okay to request an extension if you need more time. Here are typical factors used to evaluate job offers. You'll note that salary is only one factor. You want to be sure the job itself will allow you to use and further develop your skills, to see what potential advancement opportunities there may be, to determine if the company environment is one that will satisfy you, and that the geographic location is acceptable. You may have other factors that are important to you as well, and these should all come into consideration when considering the offer. Whether the job is a co-op, internship, or full-time job may impact these factors more or less. For example, you may not mind the environment or location as much if you're just going to be there for the summer. You want to take time and consider the offer carefully because once you accept a job, you want to honor your commitment and not renege to take another offer. This is especially important for a co-op or internship, but is also important for a full-time job. Companies take time and effort in making an offer, and if someone accepts, they expect that person to be there. If they renege, the company must go back to square one in their recruiting. Reneging damages relationships, both yours and RIT's with the employer. We've actually had companies stop working with us because students have reneged on offers. If you have questions or concerns, feel free to talk with us before making your commitment to the company. Once you do make your decision, notify the employer one way or the other, and once you accept an offer, inform other employers that you may be working with and cancel future interviews. There may be occasions when you'd like to try to negotiate your salary. The keys to successful salary negotiation are preparation and research. Keep in mind there are many factors that impact a salary and benefits package. These include the type of work. Different fields may have more latitude for negotiation. The industry. There's more room for negotiation in the private sector than in government agencies or universities. Company size. There may be more benefits options in larger companies, and geographic location. Different areas of the country may have more funds available. Also, there is more room for negotiating pay for full-time than for co-op or internship jobs, which are often set in the company's budget. Here are the factors that determine how much or how little power you have in salary negotiations. The overall state of the economy and industry, as well as the company's profitability, will impact how much money is available for salaries. Where the company is in their business cycle will also have an impact. Startup companies often have more limited funds than a company who is stable in their industry. The demand for profession-specific skills, like a certain programming skill, and your specific level of expertise in your field will also be a determinant. The number of other candidates may impact your power, as well as the company's urgency to fill the position. If you have multiple job offers, this may give you more power as well. Companies start the salary discussion by trying to find out if they can afford you, by asking what salary you're requesting, and this would be mostly for full-time jobs. You can do several things in this case. Ignoring the request altogether is risky. You can inquire what the set range is for the position, or you can provide a salary range after you've done your research, or you can acknowledge the request, say that you're open and flexible, and that you want to receive competitive compensation for your work. You may have to use a combination of these or a different technique in different situations you may encounter. You will definitely want to conduct salary research before you start the interview process, so you'll know what a typical salary or salary range is for your targeted position. There are many sources to provide this information, including our office website, which has actual reported salaries for co-op, internship, and for entry-level salaries for new graduates. There are salary websites, which you can search by position and geographic location. Some industry organizations have salary information for their industries, and sites like Glassdoor provide salary information as well. Do a comprehensive search and gather as much information as possible so you'll be prepared for a potential negotiation. Here are some tips for the salary negotiation process. It's best to conduct negotiations verbally, by phone or in person, as you have immediate feedback and give and take, as opposed to email exchanges. For your negotiation, have these figures in mind from your research: the minimum acceptable salary, or what you need to live on for the geographic location. It's helpful to do a draft budget to determine what that figure would be. Then the figure you'd like to earn, again from your research. You may want to ask for more than you actually want to leave room for negotiation. Do this by deciding on the salary you really want and adding a 10 to 20% cushion. Again, this should be realistic based on your research. When does salary get brought up? Usually you want to wait for the employer to make you an offer, as this gives the basis for the negotiation conversation. Upon receipt of the offer, remember to reiterate your enthusiasm about the job and receiving an offer. Here's an example of how to start a negotiation conversation. What you want to do is determine if they're open to any negotiation. Here are some do's and don'ts for salary negotiation. This is a very situation-specific process, but these general tips may be helpful throughout the process. The employer may raise objections to your request for a higher salary. Here are some that are typical and some responses you may use. In spite of your research and valid points, there may be instances where the company is set and unable to consider an increased offer. If this is the case, and if you're still interested in the position, you can try to negotiate for other perks or benefits, or you can ask if there's a chance to consider a pay raise at a set time in the future, say at 6 months instead of at a typical year. There are other factors beyond salary to consider in the offer. There may be additional compensation through a bonus, commission, stock options, or profit sharing. For full-time positions, companies will offer a benefits package, which often include medical, life insurance, retirement matching, and a vacation. There may be other perks, including relocation expenses, a company car, and tuition assistance. These benefits and perks often add up to as much as 30 to 40% of the actual salary, and can sometimes be negotiated as well, as with or in place of salary negotiation. Consider the whole package carefully before making your decision on the offer. And remember that our office is always available if you'd like to discuss an offer. Finally, here are a few tips as you transition to the world of work, whether in a co-op, internship, or full-time job. Remember that a professional image and attitude are as important as your technical qualifications. These will follow you throughout your career and will impact all future jobs. Dress appropriately for your company, particularly those further along the career path you're pursuing. The adage is to dress for your next position. Don't mistake your boss for your college professor, but try to get a mentor within the company who can help you navigate office politics and the company environment. Don't be afraid to ask questions, but be willing to do your own homework. You want to demonstrate initiative and your problem-solving skills. Don't mistake your colleagues for your college classmates. Again, use a mentor and/or observe company culture for guidance on professional interactions. Be cautious about oversharing personal issues with coworkers and avoid office gossip. Focus on your work and your future opportunities.